and OCD, but I also may have disorders like bipolar, ADHD, ASD, and things like that, eating problems. Yeah, sometimes I do realize. That's all, I guess.
Damn, bro.
What are your current goals and aspirations?
My goal is currently to have money, and it's like there are two reasons, I guess. First of all, it's the security because I don't want to end up homeless because my relationships with family are not quite good. And also because it will let me to buy things that I enjoy. And it will also mean that I could kind of indulge in them. And besides that, well, I always wanted to make sure that I have some kind of well, my goals don't change that much actually, because I'm worried that if I change the goal, then people will look at me like less of a human, and they like that could destroy my reputation. But I think that my goal was to have some kind of like business and to move to another country, but that will also mean not being homeless because yeah, that would just be terrible.
So your family is poor.
My family is not poor. I didn't mean like financially bad. It's quite good actually, but the relationships, like I always first of all, I don't want to be reliant on my family if I don't like them. I don't want to see them as much as possible. And I also don't have good relationships with them. So that will mean I can't exactly rely on them, especially if my father told me that he will just kick me out at some point. It's like, yeah, I'm worried about that.
The way you phrased it, maybe I'm wrong. It seemed like your parents are gonna kick you out soon.
Well, I'm not exactly sure that they will do that because they're really inconsistent with what they promise, and I think they will keep me. But first of all, I can't be exactly sure. That is one thing, and the other thing is that well, I don't want to stay either way. Like, I want to cut the contacts. That is kind of my goals right now.
That seems kind of weird. Why would you want to cut contact with your parents necessarily?
Because I don't get along with them. It's like they have absolutely different viewpoints and priorities. They also don't really empathize with my viewpoints. Like, I'm very different from them, and they don't understand when I do something that they don't like. For example, they like my mom would want me to go to parties, or she will want me to hang out, and she thinks that to me it will be fun. But in fact, if I did go to such places, I will be overstimulated because symptoms of autism, like I just can't handle loud sounds, I can't handle too much people, and it doesn't interest me. Like, even when I was at a party, which she forced me to go to, it was boring to me. Like, I did want to dance, but then there were people, and I did not want to see me them like dancing, and there wasn't much to do anyway, and it was loud. It was just too many people I'm not even close with. I didn't feel like eating the food because it was too late, and it's already too much. So that, and they also just don't understand, like they have this idea, probably, I guess, that everyone is supposed to be like them, if you know what I mean. So it wouldn't really work out. Like, they don't try to understand me, and the worst thing is, in many cases, I understand much more. I will give them explanation, but what they do is that they will simply force me to do because they said so, and that is just very toxic, I guess.
Can you name a specific situation here where they forced you to do something you didn't want? And what was your response to it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, for example, my mom will force me to go to church all the time when I exactly told her what I think about it, like several times already, like 3 years ago. And it's kind of like frustrating, but what I usually do is that I don't go there and I hang out alone or with my friend in like a forest and we joke around. And the other thing, for example, my father did is that he told me to, in order to not get bullied again, I need to smile at people, compliment them when it's not like genuine, and to be interested in people and ask them questions, even if I'm not like that. And I'm supposed to be always smile, like always smiling, you know. And that kind of hit me because then like I already thought about like I'm already LARPing too much and I see how it hurts. Like how can he say this? Like he has no clue. And if I try to tell him that why he thinks that I treat other people like I treat him, didn't even let me finish it. He started yelling at me, and later I started crying, and then he said like nothing has happened, like be fine and things like that. Well, something did happen clearly, and it kind of like hit the wrong point in me because usually I don't get angry, but there are certain things that just drive me insane, you know.
So you say you want to become economically independent and indulge in things. What are you thinking about exactly?
Well, I first of all want to make sure that I'm financially stable enough to like afford a house and also later like have some kind of like business going on and yeah, like kind of like that just to make sure I don't end up homeless because first of all, how will people see me? That is one thing, and the other thing is like it will probably not be safe. So yeah, and then also that financial thing with business is like I just felt this need to somehow lead things in that aspect. Like when I was already young, I had the clear idea of what I'm going to do. And I was telling that people, but then I've regretted because what if I don't achieve this or like especially change my mind? They will completely see me differently. Like as I said, less of a human, maybe will like destroy my reputation or something. And now I'm not exactly telling people what I want to do. And I'm not exactly even sure because I have many interests and I'm good at several things, so it's kind of hard.
So what you're saying essentially is that you have a plan, but like no real like one thing which you want to invest in yet.
Yeah, it's kind of like questionable because, for example, I'm interested in science and then it's like, you know, even psychology, biochemistry, and genetics. And then also it's like, you know, fashion and like I also enjoy sports and art. Like it's just so difficult to choose. And you know, especially if you enjoy and are good at certain things, like it's harder because, you know, there are people that will tell you to do this, other people will tell you that you're good at this, so you're going to do this. And I'm like, I can't have five professions, you know? I mean, technically I could, but that will be probably exhausting, and I want to enjoy my free time and comfort. So.
You say that you LARP a lot. Does this only extend to Discord, or do you have a tendency to also do this in real life?
This is actually worse in real life than Discord. Like, for example, now I guess I'm more natural than usually. And I feel like most of what I say is kind of like authentic. But well, the thing is, to me, it's so automatic to LARP that um, it's not even LARPing anymore. Like, just like the environment makes me act a certain way, even if it's differently than what other people act in that place. So it's like being like yeah, it just completely reversed sometimes. Sometimes is the desired outcome that people will want me to, you know, act in certain way. or I just feel the need to get some attention, and but it will just come so naturally that I have no control over that. It's kind of like that.
What was an important event in your life?
Okay, wait, can you repeat that, please?
What was an important event in your life?
I feel like this is very like a general question. I'm not even sure if there is something in particular that was important, but I guess there are many things. Um, yeah, I was alone in hospital when I was 3 years old, and I can still remember that actually. Then I was going through like some bullying when I was younger, then conflicts with my parents, and then I got some mental issues, and I kind of like self-harmed myself once, and yeah, with friends there was something, but I don't have that many friends to, get into many dramas anyway. Now I'm in new school because I just started high school this year, so I guess that's it. But I don't know if there's something that important that will kind of like change me. I don't remember actually.
Who do you respect?
Who do I respect? Well, definitely not my parents. Well, it's like not even sure actually what I respect. I just, first of all, I focus on what's relevant, like what is actually addressing important point of something, or I may respect something that I understand, but I won't respect something that gives me no explanation and does things blindly, like my parents. I'm not sure because I don't have this clear idea of authority. I may actually respect teacher at school because I may be scared of what they do to me, but if I get to know somebody better and I don't agree with them, I will just I can go to the point where I will start yelling if that is necessary, or if I just can't hold it in anymore.
You didn't really answer my question though. Like, I
Uh,
suppose I could
yeah, but the
say
thing is,
what
it's
people you respect.
what people do I respect? I just respect teachers out of fear, and yeah, that is probably
Sorry,
it.
say that again. Out of
I
fear.
respect people who, out of fear, yes. Like, I'm just worried that I will make them treat me worse than I treat them, or they will do something that will like hurt me physically, or will just like they will just yell at me. That is the thing, I guess. Like, if there's some danger, otherwise, yeah, or if I don't want to offend somebody, I'm either scared or don't want to offend. And especially, I respect, well, okay, generally, I respect more or less everyone, but especially strangers. Like, I, I don't know why. I just have this need to act really nice to people that I don't know. Maybe I'm worried of bad reactions or bad outcomes, like I will make them feel something that is wrong. And but the only people that I don't respect besides that is just, yeah, parents, somebody that I know better and actually does things that I don't agree with and hurt me in a very bad way.
So you say that there's pressing matters between you and your parents. What would these things be? You say that they don't
Yeah.
agree with your viewpoints, and you say others don't agree with your viewpoints, and you say this is quite a big deal for you. Um, can you be a bit more specific about this?
hmm So, for example, when dealing with peers, people my age, they kind of think that I should be the only one that adapts to them, but I don't think I'm the only person that should try to communicate, because although I do have a great patience when dealing with people and explaining them things, it frustrates me very deeply when somebody doesn't try to understand me just because I know things better or I have better understanding in general. Because I think that if they try enough and if they try the proper way, they can actually achieve something. But if they don't put any effort in understanding certain things and they just dismiss it because they don't understand it in a matter of seconds, then it's going to be very bad. Like, first of all, they stay closed minded, and I will just stay frustrated and misunderstood. And then there could be like the religion. I was kind of thinking about, the afterlife and things like that when I was younger. I was like 13, and I told him like what I think. My father, he doesn't care, but and he actually is against the religion, but he doesn't care. He thinks I don't want to practice it just out of laziness, but it's not really that. I feel it's just like too bothering to go somewhere where, like it's just pointless. First of all, yes, I'm lazy, but then also what's the point if it's boring and I don't agree with it and I don't get anything out of it? And my mom and my grandma, like they force me on the other side, and I guess I'm more open-minded to questioning things. Like they kind of try to, even my father, like my family, close family, tries to suppress this urge that I have to maybe question things a little bit and be more, observant of it, because they do things out of tradition. Like my mom does it because if her mom was spiritually abusing her, then gonna do the same things to me, and I'm supposed to act like she did in her position. So her idea is that if she does something, I am the same, and it will be the same for me to do it. And if I tell her that it's not the case, that I'm somehow different, then it won't help in any way, I think.
So you sound like you don't have a lot of friends. Am I right in this? Uh, am I right in this guess?
Well, the thing with me is that I have lack of interest in socializing. So to me, I enjoy more being alone or being with few people. And the other thing is that I'm scared of people. Like feeling, even meeting strangers, to me, it was hard to even go to school. So like, I don't know, a walk to the school was so hard for me that I either went too fast, so they are not next to me if they were behind me, and if the people were in front of me and tried to go way too slow to not meet with them. And the other thing is that I'm also very different from most people. Like being neurodivergent, it just affects you a lot. I guess you know that. But yeah, and I even if I now have friends, like I have few, I don't really go and meet them. Like I'm declining my friend's request to go out for a month now, I guess. I just texted him yesterday to go out and he wasn't at home anyways. And yeah, and I guess that's the thing for like in the present. Like it's just like everyone was dismissing me to the point where I started dismissing everyone. And I pretty much now force myself to be isolated like people were isolating me back then because they thought I'm showing off or I'm being a smartass in some way. And they also did not understand me, and they, I guess when I was younger, were also jealous because I wasn't stupid kid in any way and I was good at doing things as a child.
Why do people dismiss you?
People dismissed me because, this is the thing with people. Like, if you are confident in doing something you're worse than they are, they won't really care and they can still befriend you. But if you're confident in doing something that you are better than they are, and let's say they're kind of insecure about them not being able to do it that well, they can start to bully you. And I was very confident in my abilities in sports, in knowledge, and things like that, And I oftentimes did not realize like I'm forcing this idea of being good, um, being good at things. And now it kind of like affected me. Like people did not want to talk to me, especially like my classmates when I was younger. And also like some other kids, although I did have friends. But now I just got used to not dealing with people, and now the effect that it had on me is that being with people does not stimulate me. It only drains me because remembering all that trauma, it kind of like makes me hold myself to a certain standard when dealing with people. I can be authentic because if I know I am being honest with them, then they will hate me. And I'm trying to keep peace and I'm trying to make sure that they smile at me like I made them somehow happy and not offended. And yeah, this actually takes a lot of my energy away, which can result in me like isolating to a point where I'm months alone, besides going to school or to the groceries.
So you don't seem to get well along with people, uh, generally because of expectations or something like that. What about when you're not trying? How do you come off when you're not trying to please people?
Okay, well, it's I'm not sure because I'm always trying to please people, especially adults. Like they love me, I could say. Like they like the fact that I'm talking to them, that they are not lonely, that I'm helping them with sometimes like chores because it happened already, or that I'm giving somebody things and that I have manners. Like they're happy about this. But if I was like natural, they wouldn't be happy. For example, there's this auntie that I don't really like, and I don't greet her, which most people I do greet, but she started complaining about it. That I don't greet her. I don't know why she has problem with it. I don't know her well in the first place. Like I know her whole life, but we never really talked about things personally, and it kind of bothers her. I don't know. Besides that, well, I LARP even with my friends to make them laugh and like kind of make them react and maybe like create some image, but I don't really I don't know how to be authentic even if I'm alone because I always feel like somebody's watching me.
Do you command respect?
Well, I expect people to kind of like respect me. Like I don't like when somebody is rude to me for no reason. Like I don't know, somebody just throwing random like message to me without even knowing them. Like, and saying rude things. I really hate that. But to me, it's pretty much enough that they just respect me, I guess, and ignore me for the most part when they don't force me to talk to them sometimes. Because I'm the kind of person that ignores you usually in real life when you don't need anyone. Other people will at that time give you many things and talk to you. But when you actually turn to a point where when you do very badly and people start to ignore you and look at you the wrong way, then that is when I just come out and try to help you and make sure that you're kind of like safe and you're doing good. And I don't expect much like in return. I just want people to smile at me and like be happy and kind of like not be rude to me. But yeah, I guess the respect is the thing.
So, how do you judge people? Would you say? Because you've said a few times that people tend to judge you a lot, but you also judge people in return. You know, you say your parents are kind of, well, assholes in a sense. Um, what about other people? Would you say that your relationships with people tend to be positive or negative?
I mean, since I'm trying to force being nice to other people to extent where it doesn't really like look like it's fake, but even like only to the point where it's like I feel like it's needed. Like I don't go to people most of the time and I don't feel the need, and I usually don't. People usually are fine with me, but sometimes I feel like they gossip me for no reason, even if I'm nice to them. Like you can sense this, like they are teenagers. Um, Elders, I guess they're good with me. Family, they think that I'm really stubborn. Um, yeah, they will probably say that I'm stubborn but intelligent in some way, but very socially unskilled, which I don't think is true in any way because I can read people's motives and behavior. I just have issues with, getting the context of what somebody says or writes. Other people, well, it will be easier to say if I was more social, I guess, because usually I'm just alone with no interest to actually reach out to people. Um, yeah, I don't know. I guess they're fine with me now that I force myself to be kind of nice.
What do you think about popularity? What would you want to be popular for?
Well, I would like to be, I don't know, maybe in some way, like, but not directly. I would like if people admired me and look into me in a way that I am different and good at doing things. But I don't think I would like to have way too much attention, if you know what I mean. Like, um, I'm not really for being cool with so many people and that they reach out to me all the time. Or, because I can feel even now like people idealize me in some way. Like they don't even see me as a human anymore. They just see me as a picture if I'm good at something. And it's kind of like dehumanizing, I guess. It's also like, yeah, you will feel like a celebrity, but not like a person. So yeah, I do want them to look at me in a way that I am kind of like strange and I am good at doing things and that I'm better than others in doing certain things, but I don't want them to uh yeah, like the typical kind of popular.
What do you want to be good at?
I want to be good at like generally the most basic things that are different from each other, like science, sports, art, maybe like chess and things related to this. Because I know that I can do it actually. The problem for me is more like the energy levels.
But you're okay. So there's several interests, which are generally vague, as you've described that you have. What do you think, in particular, that people idealize you for?
People usually like the way that I understand things, like how much I know things. Generally, they would say, especially at school, they always tell me that I'm, smart or intelligent. Back then, when I was doing sports, they were also like how flexible I was with gymnastics and how much potential I have with chess. Um, and also how good I was drawing when I was a kid. And yeah, writing stories, but mostly it's the intelligent aspect and the knowledge. Um, it usually was related to me having my own understanding of certain things, and sometimes I'll like disagree with the teacher, but I will say it in a very neutral way and give like an explanation. They oftentimes, probably always don't understand this. I guess that is why they idealize it so much because if people like the reason why they think I'm so good at this and like I'm not even a person anymore is that they don't really understand my words or me as a person. Like if you get an understanding, then you idealize it much less. It's like with the afterlife, I guess.
But you don't think there's any reason why people idealize you for other than your talents?
Um, I mean, sometimes when I LARP, they also like how kind I am. But besides that, I don't know if you're suggesting some other aspect of that. No, because they in other areas underestimate me. Like, for example, my social skills. They don't know, I guess, that I can read people or that I see the behaviors and I can apply like typology to all of that. Or, yeah, pretty much. And I also see that in my peers, like, I'm trying to be kind with them, even if I'm not their friends, to like able to help, but they don't really point. I don't think that it's somehow, you know, yeah, it's usually just the intelligence. I don't think there's anything else in my talents and the way that I act.
What do you do to become materially sustained?
Well, I was planning on this summer to get a job, like some job, something that I may be better at, you know, but not something where I meet many people, but
Okay, continue, Laura.
and also uh yeah, I was just thinking of like getting a job or yeah, I don't know, selling things like very interested in like dermatology and trichology, which is basically like dealing with skin and hair. And maybe making certain things for that because it's really interesting to me.
So, how are you like in discussions? Like, what do you like to talk about, and which people do you tend to debate with?
I'm not really sure, but usually I guess I like when I can express myself. People that won't really be like, oh my gosh, know so much about this, because that is not a relevant comment. It doesn't really address what I'm saying. But when they actually treat me somehow like equal and they will talk to me about what I'm saying, and just discuss it and be able to um, try to understand me at least. Like they'll be open minded enough to try that. Well, even when I was younger, people were complaining that okay. Um, People are always complaining that I always do or talk about the same thing over and over again. Like I'll either forget and repeat it like several days later, or I will just be so. Well, to answer that, um, I prefer talking to people who, I don't know, generally I prefer friends, obviously, but maybe people who let me to be curious and make me curious, and like they are like books, like you can get information from those people, like they're interesting, like they're not bland, like just doing five things, um like eat, sleep, and things like that. Also people who respect me enough to put an effort to understand what I'm saying, like there must be some mutual understanding and respect. I don't have like many standards to this, but I guess they're quite important.
Do you dislike people putting expectations about how you should act?
Um, People who put in expectations, well, it's usually my family, and I argue with them about that, and I hate it because, for example, my grandma, like, she's very nice, and she always like gives me like cakes and bakes me food, and But she's always like, she tries to talk to me and just get in my room randomly when she comes here and like asking what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't want to deal with anyone right now. And I'm just answering so blandly, even more than you are. And also, well, she once told me that I'm
The
like,
one that's back. Are we gonna
can
give
you-
them one more chance? Okay, let's give them one more
no,
chance. No, let's give them one more. There's lesson C.
I guess they're gonna troll us with it.
This is
Kind of
a
boring,
question
Loaded.
actually.
They're back.
of everybody behaves.
Okay.
So you are asking me about the people who kind of put an expectation me on how should I behave.
No,
Well,
let me ask you a better question.
Mhm.
Are you prone to changing moods?
hmm?
Did you
What
hear the
did you
question?
say?
Are you prone to
No.
changing moods?
Changing moods. Moods, maybe. Emotions, definitely. Feelings, barely. Um, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's kind of random. Like I'm crying, and I'm completely devastated, and then suddenly I get some funny thought, and I just start laughing at that. Yeah, it happens, but oftentimes I guess I'm just like chill, not really thinking about my emotions, like except that I'm for the most part, um, affected by OCD, so I feel like frustrated, uncertain, and hopeless at once. But it doesn't really change. I don't know. It's like I'm as calm as I am chaotic emotionally compared to other people. I don't know. In some way, I'm calmer, but also more reactive.
In what ways would you say you're reactive?
Well, if somebody comments on certain things like my, like being authentic or something like that, well, it hits me because I already have experience that I know how LARPing hurts me because I'm actively LARPing. But if it's like somebody just arguing with me and like that, I don't deal with that much. Like sometimes I don't understand why people get so much offended for random things that people do. Like I absolutely ignore that, like they just see somebody dancing and they start to gossip. And when my this happened once, and when my classmates asked what I think about it, I was like nothing, and they were like so shocked, I guess. Like, yeah, it's like weird, but to these things I don't really react.
How do you deal with anarchy?
um with what?
Anarchy.
Like rebelling to certain like
Not really. That's what I mean by anarchy is more things being disorderly, like disorderly conduct in general.
mm, that depends. I am generally very inconsistent, and like being bipolar and like also affected by ADHD, that is something that I absolutely hate. I feel like things need to be sane and grounded, but there needs to be some fun and chaos at the same time. If you mean like disorder, like I remember when I was like a child, I had this thing that I wouldn't like to hang out with more than one person because I knew that if there were like more of us, we will like yell through each other, and I hated that. Like that created that disorder. But yeah, I mean not like when people are yelling too much because it's like stressing me out, or when they cry. Yeah, it's not the best thing, but if we mean like a physical environment, I'm already messy enough, so that is something that I'm not as bothered about.
Give an example of a group you feel comfortable in, and give an example of a group you don't feel comfortable in. Why do you think? Why do you think the one group trumps the other?
I'm not sure. I'm not really in a group of people that really accept me because I don't seek that. But mm, I mean, if we would say like my friends, I guess they're more fun than the other people. They're also more interesting. They're maybe more freaky in some way, and also they may have this. They won't put many expectation upon how I act. Like I don't like when people are stressing me out with the expectations, with behaving a certain way. I'm like live and let live in certain way. I guess that is where I do better than with people who actually feel the need to talk about everybody in every possible aspect of their life.
So you don't like people who talk too much about certain individuals but not others? You mean like I'm not sure what you mean when you say these things. Like what makes the one group what makes the group interesting? What makes these people more funny? Is kind of what I'm asking instead.
Mm, those people who, for example, my friend, is that he is not very the typical person. Like he has different behavior than most people. He may be more naive, and it can be actually annoying because I usually need to ground him back to reality. But yeah, it's more fun. It's more freaky. It's less normal. That is why I enjoy more. That is what makes them more interesting, not being like other people in that aspect. And it's also like they don't really, uh, I don't know. It's like I don't like when people kind of gossip about other people when it doesn't affect them, or I don't like when they very focus on how people should behave when it doesn't concern them or it doesn't really hurt anyone. Like that is just so distressing because then I keep overthinking it. So then maybe usually things, I don't know, related to like certain behavior, which may not even be harmful, but they feel like there's something like different about it. So they are going to kill people for it. And that is just very distressing to me.
What would you okay? So you say that they're different from other people, but what would you say a typical person would be then? What would like the average
I
person be,
mean,
and like how would they compare with who you are?
I imagine the average person to like talking about things, but not really talking about anything, like very like these small talks, but it's actually very long talk. Like it doesn't really hit anything. It doesn't go in depth. Like there's no interest. It just usually talking about very casual things in daily life, like I don't know, maybe going to parties or about what other people do, or having some expectations and just talk about other people way too much. When this happens, like when somebody feels the need to gossip with me, I just feel like I walked out of the cemetery. Like I can feel the energy. It got into me and I feel poisoned, I guess. That may be the thing. Like they are more prone to gossiping certain people and not even like if they do it for fun, like as jokes, okay, but like they take it usually very seriously. They may also abide by norms way too much and they may not even question things. Like they just do something and they're not even aware of what they're doing usually. And they just do something because other people do that or because it's the norm or because someone like it's somehow popular. But I'm like, wait a minute, like this actually affects me or somebody else very bad way. Shouldn't we overthink this and try to change what the norm is, you know? Yeah, so if I had to put it like in short, other people are less likely to question things, more likely to abide by rules, more likely to gossip and talk about uninteresting things like daily life. And they also very stigmatize certain things like sexuality or disorder or things related to these topics, which distresses me a lot. And usually I got such terrible anxiety from these people. Like I felt like somebody's going to murder me. And I was just getting these attacks from it, which is like, no, I don't want to deal with that.
So, what are some expectations and rules that others don't question that you do?
I mean, some people maybe are more inclined to listen to their parents, like do these chores or go to the church or stay here and teacher saying something or getting even like in school these notes and presentations that teachers present in front of the class. They just write down whatever the teacher says because they're not interested on they don't know how to question it or don't really bother. But I can already spot when there is something wrong with it and confront the teacher about that. um yeah, it may be things like these. I don't know what else. Maybe when there's a norm set or when somebody became popular recently and they don't care what's going on, and it's like if they were forced to do something, they will do it without questioning it because they don't care and they just want to do their own thing. But to me, they'll really hurt me, and so I'll constantly have it on my mind.
So, how do you know that you're right but the teacher is not? Did you hear the question?
Well, first, yeah. Um, I kind of like can see it in my head, like having some kind of patterns that are to some extent visual and abstract at the same time, and they're kind of like compare certain things, and I can know based on my experience, understanding, like the connections and the knowledge that I have, and I could actually bring it up to the teacher, and they even sometimes like agree with me. Like they say that okay, you're actually right in some way. So if they admit it already, like it's already giving something, I guess. But yeah, you can see certain things, especially if you experience it, like you have your personal like proof of that. And especially if you can see that things like if you work with the information that they give you, you can work with more. You're going off from the information that you're receiving, so that is like there's not much point in thinking whether you're right or not. You just working with all the information that you got from them.
Do you
And
change your
if you apply all of that and you see
Sorry.
some pattern that just makes sense, then it's all already probably like right. Hmm?
Do you change your decisions a lot?
um I mean, I am quite indecisive when it comes to very simple things, but when it comes to like I don't know. If you probably gave me some example, it'd be easier, I guess. I do have this problems with deciding whether to go somewhere or what should I buy, what should I wear. But that is not because I have a lot of options, but because I just don't know what to choose. Sometimes I have barely anything to choose. And oftentimes, like, I don't feel like there are very, like, proper options for me. Um, but I don't know if I change. Like, I don't very get into the situations where I have to change. Right now I'm usually like when I say no, it means just no. It doesn't happen, and it just stays like that. Like going to some trips, I just reject and say no, I'm not going, and it stays that way. I may have some doubts when it comes to like vacations and things like that, and I may kind of like swing between the decisions. But usually I'm alone and at the same place, so it's like, you know.
why do you feel the need to take decisions about your vacation?
Else is like supposed to make them, like it's me going to
Your
vacation.
parents? Your
And is it
parents,
supposed to be?
perhaps?
Why will they? It's like they say, like, they tell me we're going to vacation and you're going to. Am I supposed to be like, okay, why? Why would I just agree because they want to? Like, isn't that stupid? What if they're making bad decision? Like, being an authority is a black and white thing. You either make something completely stupid or something completely great if somebody who are you deciding about thinks about what they're doing. And my parents are like, they usually don't even care most of the time. Like when they're going somewhere, they tell me like, we are going there. Do you want to go with us? And I'm like, no. For the sake of my comfort, I'm not even like going to like the pools and things like that because I will need to, dry my skin out and buy swimwear. And it's like, what's the point of it? Just being in the water. Like if it's not a sea, then I see no point. But there are situations when parents will force me to go somewhere, and they said this is the last time, and it wasn't. That is something that I absolutely hated in some way. Like, why am I supposed to go there? And they're like, you need to socialize and whatever. It's like, or they say because I said so. But yeah, I guess I'm old enough to just decide to not go somewhere. Like my parents will keep me alone in home when I was like 6 years old already, and I will just play alone or play with my friends or a neighbor. It wasn't much of a deal. I was very self-sufficient already at that point.
Okay, so how would you determine whether the okay, so you say like some of your parents' decisions are useless. How would you determine so? Like about the vacation?
It just, vacation is about the comfort. So if I see that it doesn't very interest me or attracts me in some way, that it's obvious that I shouldn't probably go if it's better, if I will do better alone at home, is like, if it's about enjoyment, you choose what you enjoy more. If it's about you, you are the one choosing. I guess that it's quite logical. But my parents, well, if they're useless in their position, I mean, I think that their position is not very relevant to what they're doing because them being parents does not make them right. If I see that I have more knowledge or in something, or especially if they say they don't want to discuss anything, like I'm supposed to do something just because they want me to, like that is very selfish. Maybe that is very stupid. It's probably both. If I have the willingness to explain them my viewpoint, I guess it's quite obvious where this is like where the truth is or who has more sense because I can tell what my parents are like to some extent.
So you'd say you have a constant need to justify yourself?
I usually rationalize what I want in order to make sense out of things when I'm like scared of not even scared, like anxious about something and unsatisfied. But it's not really about, justifying things. It's more about like, it makes my chances higher to be successful with my decision. And it's also being more open minded when you actually can explain what you're trying to do rather than being closed minded and say, you're doing this because I want you to do that or because I don't want to bother with your ability to question things and my inability to answer them.
Okay. So you said there were some things which you were quite indecisive about and allowed other people to take decision and responsibility for. What are those things, and why do you feel that they're a weakness of
Um,
yours?
Although those things are not important enough for other people to, decide about. It's usually like buying something very simple, like when, buying some toy or something that I like. Choosing the orange cat, the ginger cat, or a goat, basically. That is mostly like, they see the most pathetic things. Then I just choose something. I may ask actually people what should I choose, but it's not granted that I will actually listen. Maybe I will still have some doubts about that. Maybe the other thing will still interest me more or will be better. So it doesn't really happen that I have the option to make people decide. And I guess I never really think about letting other people decide about things that I want to like buy, because those things are going to be mine, and I would rather like read the descriptions than ask people who probably know nothing about it anyways. Because yeah, most people are not interested in those things.
Okay, so it's really minor things when you say that you're indecisive about things.
There were things like it's usually buying things online or buying in normal shop, but I guess I can still decide pretty well when that happens. Like I just see what I want or need the most. I will just not buy things that I need or want less, and I'll just make that decision. And I will be more practical when doing that. For example, if I see that there's a product that kind of will match the qualities of other five, I'll probably buy that one product and then buy two different products that don't really correspond to that or will kind of like complement it in a way. So yeah, I may want to buy like a lot of things, but I'll always make some decision. It won't be really a problem. But I'm not sure because I can't really remember like this when you ask me like think about something. I only remember about buying this one toy and not being able to decide.
But why would
Then I
you
have to
then
choose
call
what
yourself
my mother told me is
indecisive?
better.
Like that's one thing.
I mean, I guess I am indecisive, like especially when you're asking me these questions, like I absolutely don't can decide how to respond because I'm not exactly like seeing anything behind me like as a past and choose something that I could really talk about that could answer your question. And I also have issues like deciding between two simple things in real life, but I don't know, it's so hard. It's almost like I don't know myself.
So you have so you would say you have a hard time.
Defining myself. Mm-hmm.
I suppose,
Um,
yeah.
Well, defining myself is like I know myself better than other people, but if you know yourself like very well, then it will also make you more confused because you're getting in contact with a lot of information about yourself, and it will make you confused about what actually you are. You can't really compare yourselves to other people because you don't experience the world through their perspective. But I may have issues, especially when it comes to like doing tests or like, even answering these questions. Because for me, it's just hard to decide when you ask some general question. It doesn't like some kind of memory pops out. Like you'll probably need to be more specific. So in that aspect of typology, I don't know myself that well.
So you'd say that. Hmm. So you'd say that you tend to have contradicting aspects, which both reflect in you. So like,
Well, I am very. Hmm? Uh, I am very dual person. Yes. It's like, for example, I'm as calm as I can be chaotic, or I can act very stupid, but I'm not very like, I'm not stupid to that point. It's like I'm full of contradictions in some way. Um, like I may hate authority,
Wait, okay.
but at
Let
the
me
same
ask my
time I
real
have
question then.
problems,
What I was kind
confronting.
of going towards was, do you tend to have a hard time, um, like defining concretely things? Like, again, in this call, I see you talk a lot abstractly.
Wait, I did not hear you well again. Sorry.
Like in the would you say that you have trouble defining things concretely? Like in this call, you often answered things very vaguely. Would you say that you have problems with being too vague, being too non-specific?
The thing is, I can be better at describing facts or theories or other people, but it's hard for me to describe myself to the point where you can type me easily, you know.
Do you have a tendency to classify people as good or bad? If so, then by what standard?
I mean, there is some classification of, these people are bad and they are harming me, and then these people are good and they're ignoring me or treating me well. But it can go beyond that, like I can actually describe much more that person so that you actually see what makes them bad or good. But
But
it's not
then,
necessarily like say this
sorry.
person is good or this person is bad because I don't want to sound that way.
But then, how would you really define it? I'm not really interested in how you think the concept itself, how you think about the concept itself, but how would you like classify it? Like, how would you classify a person as good or bad? Because I do think you've made quite a lot of those judgments. Maybe not consciously, but during this session, you've definitely showed disgust towards certain people, and there's other people which, well, you seem to respect quite a lot.
I mean, I see people for what they treat me like. So if I see somebody, I don't know, billing me, then I will kind of like read into their behavior and see what's going on, what's their pattern or what's their motive. And I usually go by that. Like I can clearly see they're bad people, like everybody would. But I can also see that they are good for other people, like they treat other nicely. Um, or the other way around, I guess, if that happens. Um, yeah.
Do you tend to be polite? Why or why not?
hmm I tend to be very polite. I mean, I was raised in a way that I just treat people like, greet them, let them sit in a bus. Then I kind of raise myself into, talk to people and smile at them and give them things sometimes, I guess, or help them with their chores or responsibilities or explain them something they need to know. Yeah, I'm very polite, even if I don't like somebody. It's hard for me to confront somebody directly in a way that may be like seen as rude. So I just try to avoid conflicts like that.
What are some of your personal standards and ideals?
Um, in what way do you mean that? Like, what kind of standards and ideals? Like,
I
what
don't
are
mean
we
anything.
exactly?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. For example, for looks, I'm just trying to make sure I don't age badly. Like, just seeing how other people age, I'm just trying to prevent that, and I'm trying to like treat my skin the best I can, or hair for that matter. And other standards and ideals, yeah, being great at doing things, not getting very bothered by what people say so I can look cool. Um, and probably having a place in myself for my friends so that I can proudly stand for them and help them and actually spot manipulator for them when somebody is hurting them. Because I don't like looking at people, seeing somebody's doing something bad to them and ignore. I would be extremely angry if someone did that to me. So what I do is that if I see this happening, I warn that person, like if they're my friend especially, and tell them what they do with the information is their thing because I did my part. And I sometimes I can predict that they will actually betray me, but I don't care because their safety comes first than what they do to me because it won't affect me much either way. Um, yeah, so like being that reliant friend in if something bad happens to you or when you need that help. Um, Yeah, just getting better at things like improving. I'm always hoping that I will have more energy to do things. Like, I won't be blocked by my lack of energy and procrastination when it comes to dealing with things that I want to be better at or enjoy.
So you have a tendency towards being protective. Um, what exactly do you protect people from?
Protective, I mean, I like to look that way, but yeah, it's like oftentimes I had this unwanted thoughts that somebody will get hurt by very simple things. And I felt the need to always protect other people from getting hurt physically, like putting the things the best way so they don't fall and hurt them, for example. Or, yeah, I guess it's more about these things, or warning my friends when somebody is manipulating them and I can spot it because I can see these things. Most people can because I was already dealing with this a lot and I have this tendency to kind of make sense of people's behavior.
Can you give concrete examples of this?
Yeah, unfortunately I do. Um, so I had a friend online, two friends actually, or three, more in this situation anyway, but two of my friends started dating together. And I could see that one friend is probably getting manipulated by the other. And the other friend, they seem very narcissistic. And I did not want to suggest that she's the bad one, but I warned my friend that he needs to be careful when getting into relationships and not get way too fast because he may not know those people. And he kind of understood that I'm suggesting that she may be unsafe. And I gave him proof of an information of what my other passed me because that friend was dating my other friend and they broke up because something bad happened. And that person told me that he won't tell her anything because I'm his friend before she's his girlfriend. And I probably already knew and expected that she will tell her something, but I did not care. It didn't really affect me. I still felt that need to help him. And the worst thing is that I don't want to hurt any of my friends, so if they get into conflicts, I feel like I need to play the common ground, like a middle ground in some way. Like, I need to do the best for both, and I shouldn't really stand on one side if I don't know the whole truth. And if I do, well, it's probably over for them, and I will actually try to, how do I say this? Probably. uh, clean their throats in some way for betraying me or somebody else. So yeah, it was like that, I guess, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Do you have a tendency towards absolute truth?
Yes, I do. I guess most of the time I do have this tendency. And sometimes I may try to twist it so it actually goes my way when understanding things. But most of the time I'm very concerned with what is the actual truth, like the absolute truth, as you've said. Um, and most people see this as a relative thing, but if you are able to differentiate between certain categories, you're able to find what the truth is in a certain situation, and you can clearly tell.
What is your lifestyle like? How does your lifestyle compare to that of others?
Considering I have so many disorders and the diagnosis that I have, it's probably worse, and most people are easily able to enjoy life compared to me. I'm usually, I don't even feel like going out, although I do go out. Oftentimes I have trouble with basic things in my daily life, but I still need to do them because of like hygiene. I can't really dismiss that. It will be very risky, unhealthy, ugly, whatever. And well, yeah, besides that, I tend to read more. I sometimes like to exercise and ride a bike outside alone, usually, and do things on my bike, like a slalom in some way, and ride it without hands, things like these that I enjoy. I consider buying skates so that I can skate because I really enjoy that. But yeah, I was younger, now it's too small for me, and I will need to buy another ones. I also like to write stories and kind of like use satire and humor for that. Um, yeah, I may be less active than most people, although before that I was extremely active doing several sports in the same period of time. But if somebody doesn't force me to do something, that I'm not doing it until it's something that I'm obsessed about to the point where I'm maniac. But yeah, I'm generally less active, more interested in knowledge. Before that, more interested in sports. Um, Probably overthinking much, much more than the usual person.
How do you handle the direction of resources like money and food?
Food, that's kind of difficult for me because it's not like I don't have enough food. The thing is, I won't eat anything. Like, I kind of picky about this, especially that I'm hypersensitive. There are foods that I'm scared to taste because when I was younger, many things will make me nauseous, especially like fruit and vegetables. And well, so the thing is, sometimes I would rather be hungry than to eat something I don't feel like eating. And they may not be healthy. Oftentimes I forget to eat. I may fall asleep while eating, or I will just be like, why am I eating this? Like, I'm not motivated enough to finish this food, so I just put it away. And then there are also episodes when I overeat to the point where I eat like 20 meals a day. So, like, two different extremes, forgetting to eat and barely eating anything throughout the day, or eating way too much. And not even like gaining weight, but I may feel like it's harder for me to walk. And it's not even like the need of my stomach, it's more that I'm already used to mechanically and like mentally to have a food in my mouth, chew it, taste it, and swallow it. Like it just completely like being obsessed about very simple things. And for the money, it's like I may be a bit reckless and buy something that I want right away. Although now I'm more cautious around it, so I'd rather wait till I have more money and buy something later. But It's kind of like sometimes I feel like ignoring need to eat something sweet so I can later use the money to buy like skincare products or something like that. Because I find it more enjoyable and it's also like it lasts you longer than something sweet.
Okay, I think I have a conclusion. I think you're LII. So the reason I think you're LII.
Wait, can you?
Can you hear me now?
Mm,
LII. Okay.
yeah.
So, the reason I think you're LII rather than ILE is because if we look at what TI is, I think the definition fits you extremely well. Because LII is generally associated with classification, personal sense of justice, personal sense of objective truth, and also being able to question common truths in order to form your own logical understanding. I considered ILE towards the end, but it's kind of hard to actually justify most placements. Firstly, your FE is terrible. Your FE isn't even slightly valued. Your FE is probably your worst functions. Not worse, not that as bad enough to be considered polar, but it is not a good function either. You don't really come off as charismatic. You don't really influence people emotionally. You don't really understand the mood around you, what the people
She left.
around. You're kidding me.
Why is it such a lie?
I think she just hate typed her, bro.
Are you kidding me, Laura? Come on. You quit in the middle of the explanation. This typing session is a mess.
Like
His TE is so raging right now, bro. Like he just wants to kill you, bro.
what's going on? Why are you talking?
I mean, you left while I was trying to explain your type.
No, it's just my connection.
Ah, okay. But it was still perfect timing.
Oh man.
Okay, but as I was saying, your FE is really terrible because you're not really good at understanding the emotional intonations. You're not really expressing anything or really trying to adhere to like external emotional expression. You know, like socio FE would be way more understanding of the external flow of emotions, expressions, and all of that. But you just seem to be way too detached from people to be like that. You know, socio FE is inherently people involved, and well, you just don't even seem to use the function much. However, let's go to NE also. When it comes to NE, I do think a lot of this fits you because you're very much about analysis. You're very much about seeing how objects have a certain capability to be something else. But you must understand that what it says about any base is a bit different. Again, they're constantly busy studying profound phenomena, which they quite successfully explain to others by making complicated things simple. Such an individual likes to explain to others what they themselves understood. In favorable conditions, become a scientist or writer, able to find optimal ways of increasing the object's potential energy, charges people with their own understanding of the surrounding objects' capabilities. Some of this fits you, but what does not fit you is that you do not really try to use objects for much. Again, like,
interacting with people, trying to say what has potential or doesn't have potential. You're more about finding an absolute truth, finding your own, and having things align with your own personal morals and all of that. While socio is generally associated with, actually increasing, as it says, objects and their energy, and like kind of interacting with objects in order to mold them. But you don't seem to be like that. You seem to just want to be able to have your own logical understanding, your objective logical understanding of a situation, like logical objective components like absolute truth and right and wrong and things like that. Like any is in essence irrational, but you don't seem to be irrational. You always seem to have rational judgment as the predominant interest.
Yeah, I forced it on myself a lot to make sense.
So yeah, I think LIF fits you. And for your other typologies, well, 6 is obvious. 6 is very obvious.
Pretty much, very much, bro. Like,
yeah, you say you're constantly questioning the truths of reality, but also think that you know the truth of reality, and you also have a tendency towards suspicion and cynicism towards others. I'd say you're S6 blind, but I actually think you're more SO blind. I'm gonna say SPSX. SPSX makes a lot of sense for you because you still have that sexual 6 energy where
yeah, I just don't express it. I'm just too scared to, kind of like
yeah,
to let them
exactly. You
go.
have a
To
lot of
not be like
counterphobic,
judged.
like believing in yourself and believing that well, everything is to be questioned, to be like digested. While social 6, that's more rigid. That's more about, well, okay, I accept the external environment, but you seem to have like kind of a go against others, but you're still self-preservation 6. You don't have most.
Yeah,
You don't have a lot of
it's
traits of
like
sexual 6.
I'm too scared to. I'm too scared of society to accept it. Like I have this conflict whether I should leave the world completely or whether I should at least a little bit go against that because it's uncomfortable and kind of like I feel like it's kind of also unsafe in some way. Like danger everywhere, but then also like maybe the lack of interest in socializing, like genuine lack of interest. That
Yeah,
simply it
exactly.
just does not stimulate me.
Makes
Maybe
sense.
also the thing.
Yeah, I think again this fits perfectly with both 6 and 5, but of course you don't have enough detachment energy to be 5. Like not enough just looking at the world from a surface perspective. You're very much kind of authoritarian, believing that that you need to enforce yourself and that that absolute truth in reality is what you need to enforce. While like 5, that's more about just building up a mental basis, but with you it's a lot different. You have to question everything as a primary
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, so then your
it's also.
psychosophy. Your psychosophy seems to me to also be pretty obvious. So you're 1L. I think that this is pretty much universal. You're very much about logic, and then I think your volition is process. Your volition is not the result. If your volition was result, you wouldn't make a lot of these claims about authoritarianism and all of this. Like, I need to assert myself upon others. I need to question the authority of others and things like that. I haven't seen anything which would suggest third volition, so I'm gonna say secondary volition, and then third physics. You are also process physics because
because you seem to be very critical towards what you need to do and what you don't need to do in the physical world. You seem to be very scrutinous about it, but really weak physics. It's not strong physics at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, LVFE, I'd say.
And what about the free type?
What?
Anyway, so the free type, what is it?
Like 693, whatever.
Yeah, she's cutting.
Yeah, probably something happened with your mic.
Typing session is done, bro.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was almost reaching a conclusion anyways.
Okay. Well,
Russian. Ukrainian missile found her. Ukrainian bomb exploded. What the fuck?
Damn.
I think that I hate that shit. Let me
so
keep
quiet.
hell.
She is quiet as fucking woman in the 90s, bro. What the fuck? She just silenced herself.
Yeah, she's... Okay. What's the call? Yeah.
I think she has BPD or whatever.
That was
Okay.
perfect. That was perfect timing. You insulted her and then she left the call.
It was me. I kicked her because like she glitched.